Candace, you mentioned a few days ago on social media that the champion deserves an exclamation point rather than an asterisk. I'm just wondering, with only 22 games, obviously there's all the uncertainty and all the question marks of the bubble and obstacles there, but with just a shortened schedule, what do you feel is the key, both individually and as a team, for getting out of the gates hot and being able to have success even though you have 14 fewer games? Is that something you do schematically, or is that something where maybe you and NECA and Chelsea just have to shoulder a little bit of a heavier load, or what goes into succeeding in a short season?
This bubble in itself, to answer the first part of your question with the exclamation point, I mean, I think everybody here is kind of fighting individual battles, just with what's going on individually in the world, where we're at. So I think this season especially isn't an asterisk, it's an exclamation point, just because of all the factors and outside things that are going on that kind of determine who's here and who's not for the season. Everybody that's here wants to be here, and we don't fault the people that aren't, but I definitely don't think that it's a season that is going to be easier than any other ones, or an exception. So with that being said, individually, I think it's health for me, and it's always been that. If I can keep my body healthy, then I can play. And I think as a team, that's our mindset, is to go in a shortened season and be healthy. A lot of people, I think, looked at the negatives of the bubble, and for me as an older player, I looked at it as a positive. I mean, we're not traveling. We're not going to have to recover on a flight after a back-to-back. We're not going to have to get up early and travel. On the ride to practice in LA is an hour for me. So that's sitting on my back and putting pressure on that. Everything is here. We're able to kind of have a tunnel vision of focus. And so I think those are two things that our team has struggled with in the past, and it's kind of forced on us now.
John W. Davis, the Winsider.
Good West Coast morning, Candace. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. Can you kind of talk to me about this season? And then maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, correct me. But it seems like this season is one of the first, if not the first season, that you and your daughter can really share like a total love of basketball. It seems like that as she continues to get older, like right now is when she's finally deciding that, like, oh, I actually love basketball and I love watching mommy play. Because before it seemed like she was kind of just, she was playing, but now she's really developing the love for it that I know you have.
Honestly, this season is really special to me, just because after, last season and going into the off season, she kind of picked up the game a lot, and she was really excited about this season. I mean, as early as December, she was like, I can't wait to go back to Staples and watch you play. And she had never said that before. And she normally has an iPad, and we try to get her to watch 2 or 3 quarters without her iPad. And now she's, into it, and she's playing 2K, and she's playing with LA Sparks on 2K. And so it's really fun when you're able to kind of share your passion with your kids, and for her to be old enough now to really, really remember. And now it's my responsibility. Like, she's watching everything I do. When I watch her on the floor, I see myself, and, it's good and some of it's bad. And so it's just, when I'm talking to the ref, she's talking to the refs too. And so I think it's, she's teaching me a lot too at this point in my career. Is, she's actively watching, and it's important for me to be a role model for her.
We'll go over to Howard Megdal with Next Hoops.
Candace, thanks for taking the time to chat with us. You and I have talked a lot about your legacy through the years, and I guess I wonder if you've thought about how significant it is for you to be part of this season, which obviously is unlike any other before it, and whether your presence here is significant in your mind, both from a basketball perspective and just from a personal emotional perspective, as you process what 2020 ends up being for everyone.
I think it's important for me to want to be here, and I wanted to. I don't think these are ideal situations and circumstances that any of us could have predicted, and especially with what this year is, you know, and everything that's going back on in LA right now, with everything kind of closing back down, the uncertainties. But it's weird because, you know, everybody's in this bubble and we're kind of in a different space, but basketball has been something that I've always leaned on my entire career, my entire life, really. When things aren't going well, I look to that for joy. And as much anticipation and hesitation that there has been going into the season, when we got here and we stepped on the floor, I mean, I was smiling the entire time, just because the joy you have from basketball, it just brings back so many memories and there's so much opportunity. And so I think just being here, it kind of eased a little bit of the burden of 2020 and all the pressures when you're in between the line and kind of able to play the game that you love.
Michelle Vopel, ESPN.
Candace, if I could ask you a little bit bigger picture question. Obviously, Kara Lawson just got the Duke job. Nikki McCray is at Mississippi State. You have a very prominent career as an analyst. Can you just give me your perspective on what you think the footprint is of several of you who, you know, are carrying on Pat's legacy in different ways, but in a very, you know, very big picture way and a very visible way?
I think it's so important. And, you know, you talk about legacy, and to me, you know, it's what you leave behind and it's what you leave in the people. It's part of you that you leave behind. And I know all of us are different, but we all embody characteristics and Pat, you know, in us. And I know she would be proud because she really emphasized, you know, working hard, you know, finding your path and dedicating yourself to people and passion. And I could still hear her say that, you know, that if you spend your entire life fighting to have people and passion, then you'll never fail. And, you know, it's really cool for me to see and look around of, you know, all the branches of the Lady Vol program, and, you know, what it's all because of Coach Summit.
Time for one more for Candace today. We'll go over to Sue Favor.
Hey, hi, Candace. Great to see you. I was going to ask you kind of a bigger question too, as far as, you know, now that you're a veteran and you've got the all changing personnel this year as usual. What's your role on the team this year, and especially compared to maybe when you first came into the league? How is your role this year as opposed to, say, previous years with the unusual circumstances?
I don't know if my role is any different, honestly, Sue. I feel as though when I stepped into the league, there was expectations, and even now there's expectations. I think when I stepped into the league, people were asking whether I would be able to compete and play the way that I knew I could. And then now those are those same questions. And I really like a challenge. And I know that there's a lot of challenges going forth in this season, and there's a lot of, I would say, question marks after last. And all I do is control the things I can control. I don't know if I have a role. I think I would hope that, you know, that for me, it's just demonstration every day of competing. And I think it's also, honestly, Sue, just doing my job of taking care of my body off the court. I think that's my biggest role, is just to make sure that I can be on the court to help my teammates.